Hi, my name is Hormazd and welcome to my studio in Unit 3 with ASC. As you can see, there are lots of patterns hanging in my wall because they're my primary source material in my artworks. I always start with the tailoring pattern. They mostly come from Savile Row, where I had a residency with Dejan Skinner, number 10. They're military tailors. And it all started with a conversation. I was training to be a designer when I was on my master's, and then I started working for the firm Dejan Skinner. And there was this moment when they removed all the patterns from the archive, which are all these. So something specifically would be that shape, for instance, where a customer's details, his measurements, his proportions, his orders, where he's put on weight, where he's lost weight, everything is recorded, and it's really a template and a document for the tailor to note the history of this man's wardrobe. And when the man dies, they don't need the patterns anymore, so they basically discard them by shredding them, removing all the information and then shredding them. And that sort of left a profound effect on me. And I decided and pleaded with the tailor to see if he could give me the patterns, and I could then do things with them. And so I only had one pattern to start with, so I began scanning them and photographing them, and that sort of informed an artist book called Dead Man's Patterns, and it all sort of spiraled from that book. And then I realized that I was making art rather than designing clothes. And I've taken the practice to different levels. So I recently started making sculptures. I acquired 50 sets of customer patterns, and while I was transporting them to my studio, I suddenly realized that I'm sort of surrounded by death, and I don't really think about that that often. And so I responded to that by remembering the dead, well, memento mori, by making 50 skulls from each individual man's patterns. So every skull is then different because it's made from different men's patterns. I then littered the floor with detritus from the making process of the skull, simply because I was referencing a pattern cutting room. As you can see on my floor too, there are bits and pieces left behind, and I've been lazy and I haven't cleaned that, but a cutter would probably have the same sort of sensibility. And then I started looking at how I could take the skull to a different level, and I'm really inspired by catacombs, and it's my sadistic dream one day as an artist to have rooms full of skulls with tailoring references and religious and iconic references. And so for now I have to sort of make a progression from there. And so there's a piece right there where I've used, I found a Victorian bell jar and sort of stuffed it with a lot of the negative pieces. I like negative space because it's the negative that makes the positive, and you can't have one without the other. And so that basically is just two skulls within a Victorian bell jar. And I'd like to do bigger things where I put them in glass cabinets and display cabinets. And coming back to negative, this is a piece that I'm working on. I've just asked one of the cutters on Savile Row to cut military patterns for me, but I didn't want them to cut it. I basically I rolled it, and now I've cut it, so I get this really beautiful sort of shape which one would have discarded, and this is something that I really like looking at. And yes, I also like color, so this is basically again prints onto patterns and inkjet and acetate, and it's a culmination of both materials to create this piece, which is a love garden.